Sup, Homeburger? I'm Leon the Paperback Maniac, coming at you with a little late summer movie haul. Things have been accruing since the spring or since whenever I did the last media haul, and thought it was time to catch up a little bit. So, without further ado, here are some flicks I've picked up lately. First up, one that I had been anticipating for a while. This is Insect, probably better known as Blue Monkey. Blue Monkeys, and this is the original theatrical poster art for the film. One that I've enjoyed for many years. It's relatively obscure. It was before this. It was never available on disc, and it was directed by William Fruitt. It's like a 1987 throwback to old 50s monster movies. And, because like in the 80s, they had this huge nostalgia for the 50s. It's always 30 years, we're always looking 30 years backward, just the way we're recently coming off a huge 80s, like nostalgia. In the 80s, it was the 50s for sure. And this is a great little creature feature. Dark Force Entertainment recently put this out in a beautiful edition, of course, bereft of any sort of special features, however. Dark Force is not a company that really goes into special features. Another one, however, that I had been really waiting for, Primal Rage. This film was from 1988. I think I've briefly mentioned this, or it's come up at some point, I'm sure, in this channel. But yeah, really fun movie from 1988. It has this feel. So one podcaster perfectly described this movie as feeling like the old ABC TGI Friday, or Thank God It's Friday, like sitcom block, but the horror movie version. It just feels like the horror movie version of TGI Friday or TGIF on Friday nights. Full House, Step by Step, all that stuff. But very 80s, but pretty cool. It's directed by Vittorio Ramboldi, so it's an Italian director directing this, university set film in Florida. And I highly recommend, if you have not seen this and you enjoy 80s aesthetic and 80s like just culture and ambiance, check out Primal Rage. It's pretty cool. Okay, one that I was not familiar with until this release is American Rickshaw, which has gone by a number of titles, I think also known as American Tiger. And this one came out in 1989. Cauldron put out this beautiful edition. And there is another piece of art for it. And from everything that I've heard, I listened to a Projection Booth podcast on this film, and it sounds like just completely batshit crazy, over the top. It sounds like just my cup of tea. I'm really looking forward to checking this out. I have not seen it yet, but right up my alley. Another Florida-lensed film, if I'm not mistaken. All right, then we got some Vinegar Syndrome titles. Of course, they always crop up in these movie hauls. First up is The Immortalizer. This one came out in 1989, a film that I was totally unfamiliar with. Had never seen it before this release. Kind of a mad scientist flick. And I swear, the plot of this movie... It's the exact same, I just noticed, as the slipcover. The plot of this movie is strangely reminiscent, very, very similar to Jordan Peele's Get Out. Very, very similar. But, I'm not saying that... Get Out is clearly the better movie. This is not the best movie, but it was cool. And, again, if you like that sort of late 80s, early 90s aesthetic, worth checking out. Okay, another Vinegar Syndrome title that came out that I was stoked for is LA Wars. This is part of their VSA line, where they kind of release really cheap, straight-to-video, kind of like action exploitation flicks from the, 80s and 90s. This movie came out in 94, another one I had never seen. Got some amazing, newly commissioned cover art from by the Dude Designs, a really cool artist who does this stuff. Here's the original VHS cover for it. I had a blast watching this thing. I'm a huge action fan, and and action is like horror, like low budget action is very, very entertaining. So yeah, I dug it. I thought this was a cool addition to their VSA line, and I'm really struggling today with putting these things back in the slipcovers. I'm just gonna set that aside for now. Okay, and then one Vinegar Syndrome one that was probably the most highly anticipated release that they've recently done is Rad, the bike movie from 1986, and they really went above and beyond with this release. I mean, this lenticular slipcover is just beautiful. And this is another movie that I had actually never seen, which is kind of crazy considering how famous it is. This one came out in 1986, and it was okay. I think maybe this movie is a little overrated. Personally, I am much more of a Gleaming the Cube guy. I've never seen Thrashin', which sounds amazing as well. But yeah, the movie, I thought the movie was okay, but this release is just beyond reproach. Absolutely love it. All right, next up is a more recent film. We have Game of Death. This was filmed in, I think 2017 is when it was originally made, and it just got a DVD release in the past few months. But I think this was originally shot as like a web series, and they kind of put it together as a film. It's gotten a lot of bad reviews, I noticed. And I think that it's, that those reviews are a little harsh. This movie is filled with loathsome characters. It's basically a bunch of Gen Z kind of just like assholes, and you want to see them die, and that's the whole purpose, and you get to see them die in very, very cool ways. Great practical effects. It's got some really good gore in this. And, it's super short. It's I don't even think it's 70 minutes. But yeah, I think it's worth checking out. It's fun. If you can find this streaming somewhere, or, the disc, the DVD was pretty cheap as well. Okay, next up, an absolute classic here. Another one that I had never seen, but I had always heard of. Its reputation precedes it. We have Riccio, the story of Ricky from 1991. And this thing is just freaking insane. It's just completely over the top, got great violence and action. It feels like a live action anime, and I believe there is an anime version of this also. Just a great time for gorehounds and people who love sort of like just off the wall exploitation cinema. If you haven't seen Riccio, you're doing yourself a disservice. Another movie that kind of feels like a live-action anime here is Metal Storm 3D, The Destruction of Jared's Sin. What a title, right? That's just an amazing title. Unfortunately, this film was released in 3D. I do not have a 3D TV, so I can't watch this in 3D. But this is, super low budget Empire Pictures. Charles Band, before he created Full Moon, he had Empire, and he had some great Empire titles. He got really lucky and was able to release Reanimator and Dolls and From Beyond, those Stuart Gordon. He's got a lot of misses as well. They can't all be transfers, but this one, this one is definitely more of a miss. It definitely has it looks amazing, and it's got some other posters and stuff that really make it look like this just grand, amazing space adventure. It's pretty cheap, it was filmed in the desert. It's not its ambition definitely is greater than its sort of the result of what we get. But it's fun. I do have a soft spot for these 80s Empire Pictures movies. So I got that one, and then I got a double feature that Scream Factory put out of two more Empire Pictures releases. The first one is The Dungeon Master from 1984, and then we also get Eliminators from 1986. And these are just more of the same, just kind of crazy 80s fantasy, action, adventure, horror, uh, B flicks basically. And this is a cool set to be able to get both of these. I don't think there are any like special features of note. You get like maybe an interview or something. But cool that you can get those in HD. Okay, next up was a brand new discovery for me. One that I've heard great things about. This is Seeding of a Ghost, and this came out in 1983. This is a year after John Carpenter's The Thing, and I haven't seen this yet, unfortunately, but I have heard that it is heavily inspired by John Carpenter's movie, and that it has some amazing practical creature effects, a la Carpenter's The Thing, especially at the end of this movie. But I mean, the name is intriguing, and just like that image there, we get like some sort of like witch, and yeah, I mean this thing, I think it's gonna be like a true like undiscovered gem. Like I'm happy that and this was put out by 88 Films. Unfortunately, this doesn't have a stateside release yet. But I'm very excited to check out. Yeah, this is a Region B release. So, but I'm really excited to check this one out. It sounds very, very interesting. All right, going back to Charles Band, here we've got another one that he put out in the 80s, Mutant Hunt. This one is from 1987. Full Moon Entertainment put this out under the Grindhouse collection, which these are like the shittiest DVDs you'll ever see. Quality is awful. It's basically like a VHS transfer. No special features of note. The film Mutant Hunt got one of the great covers. I wish they hadn't like messed up the cover there. But Mutant Hunt has some really cool effects, low budget practical effects. The film itself, pretty shitty. It's pretty shitty, but I like what they were going for. And some of the effects are really cool, like 80s analog effects. So yeah, you can enjoy it on that level. Okay, going from a shitty movie to a really good movie. Next up is Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann, and this one came out in 1986. It was, of course, based off the Thomas Harris novel Red Dragon, but Dino De Laurentiis apparently in the 80s didn't want to call it that because he didn't want people to think it was like a kung fu movie or something, and but this is a great film, very stylish. Here we have the first portrayal of Hannibal Lecter. Nothing can top Anthony Hopkins, but the film is really stylish and dark and moody. It's got a great aesthetic. Michael Mann's just a very stylish director. So I picked up the Scream Factory Collector's Edition of that one. Okay, we got a couple of comedies here. I love comedies. This is one from my childhood. Men at Work. Picked up the Blu-ray. There's an overseas Blu-ray, but this is a movie. It came out in 1990. One that I just always enjoyed since I was a kid. It's just kind of like a feel-good, Friday night pizza movie. That's exactly the best way to describe this, which is perfect because there's actually a pretty great pizza sequence in the film where Keith David attacks a pizza delivery man, which is great. But just a fun, just kind of like a fun, lighthearted action or comedy with some action in it. All right, not a very good comedy is Glitch from 1988. So I'm a huge fan of 80s comedies, and especially obscure 80s comedies. There are so many, and I'm always trying to discover new ones to watch. And this one caught my eye because it's directed by Nikos Mastorakis, the Greek filmmaker who has done a lot of horror from this era, a lot of which I like. But this one didn't quite hit the mark. I watched this a couple of months ago, and it's already left my brain. I think it's two idiotic burglars who break into a mansion in Malibu and then pretend to be the owners and have open casting calls pretending to be managers. It sounds like a porno without any of the good stuff. So yeah, not a huge recommendation for Glitch, unfortunately. Okay, next up is another one that I had never seen. This is DOA. This is the remake from the 80s. It came out in 1988. I had seen the original 1949 DOA, a great noir flick, and so this one is sort of like a like a stylish 80s remake with Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. It didn't get particularly good reviews, but I don't know. I watched the trailer online. It looked compelling, and the story is great of this guy who's been poisoned and has a certain amount of time to find his killer and to find out why they poisoned him. But this one was directed by Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. Those are the two filmmakers who bestowed us the gift of the Super Mario Brothers film in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. But they haven't done much after that. This is, I guess, maybe their first film. But yeah, I'm curious to check it out. I love myself a good neo-noir movie. Okay, next up, we've got Lieutenant Jangles. This one came in 2018, or it was released in 2018, or I don't know if it was, no, it was recently released, but I guess it was filmed in 2018. This is sort of like, as you can tell from the cover art, a very much like an Astron 6, if you know that collective group, style action, basically a spoof on action movies from the 80s. And as I've said, I'm a huge fan of action movies from the 80s. I love action comedies, especially, from the 80s and the 90s. And I thought this, looked really like fun and like, oh, okay, it's going to be like a little, but it's a little too spoofy, it's like literally like The Naked Gun. I wish they would have you treated it a little more seriously, but I get, that just wasn't the intention. But, as I was watching it, I just kept wanting to watch a real action comedy, like a good one. So yeah, this was put out by from Scream Team Releasing. They've done some stuff that I've really enjoyed in the past, like The Barn or Close Calls I recently talked about. This one I think was a little bit of a miss for me personally. I wanted to watch real action flicks, such as, I have a few here that I've been picking up. I picked up this double feature DVD of Tony Scott's The Last Boy Scout. That's actually the reason I got this. Huge fan of that movie, written by Shane Black, and basically just a distillation of all of the tropes, many of which that he actually kind of created. With Lethal Weapon and stuff, but just an over-the-top, ridiculous, stupid, action comedy from 1991. And it also came with a movie I haven't seen, Last Man Standing. I remember, I remember the trailers for that when it came out and just not being interested in it. But come to know, it's actually directed by Walter Hill, an amazing director. And apparently, according to reviews, people love it. It's violent and it's just compelling. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to checking out Last Man Standing. I love a good, violent Western. Who doesn't, right? All right, keeping with the sort of action theme here, picked up a copy of Screen Factory's Cyborg, a collector's edition. This one, Cyborg, came out in 1989. Another Canon film, I believe. Another one I had never seen. I'm not a huge Van Damme fan, to tell you the truth. I feel like he just doesn't have the charisma, of a Schwarzenegger or even Stallone or even Seagal, really. But I was actually, and when I bought this, I actually, when I received it, I almost went through a little bit of buyer's remorse. I was like, oh my God, did I really need Cyborg? Is this going to be a steaming pile of shit? But then I watched it, and you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. It's actually a very fun movie. It's directed by Albert Pune, who doesn't always get off with impunity. I haven't liked a lot of his movies, but this one I thought was definitely one of his better flicks. I actually enjoyed this like more than Nemesis, which recently got a release from MVD Rewind. Yeah, I would like to even check out the sequel or sequels to that one. All right, next up, another kind of classic action movie that I had never seen is The Punisher, the 1989 Punisher, starring Dolph Lundgren. And I don't know why I passed this up. This is one of the first, along with like Batman 89, this is kind of like comic book movies coming back before, before they were like, what they are now. But this one is interesting because it's directed by Mark Goldblatt, a famous editor who's like worked on like everything, like awesome from the 80s and 90s and beyond. And Goldblatt's only other directorial effort is one of my favorite films of all time, Dead Heat. So of course I had to check out The Punisher, and this is a pretty hard. This version I have here has the unrated cut, and so it's got some nice violence, some cool set pieces, and personally, this was the most entertaining Punisher flick I'd seen. There have been a few renditions since then, but I really enjoyed this one. So if you like that era, late '80s action, definitely worth checking out. Okay, another just classic science fiction action flick here is They Live from John Carpenter. Big fan of this movie. It came out in 1988, and it had been a while since I'd seen it, so I like the Scream Factory Collector's Edition. I found it for like a decent price, and went ahead and picked it up. I rewatched it recently with the John Carpenter commentary, and it's just like just a great, not my favorite Carpenter movie, probably not even in my top 5, but one that I do enjoy quite a bit. All right. Another kind of action-y flick is Silent Rage. This is a Chuck Norris movie from 1982, the year I was born. And this one, I think I mentioned this in a previous video. This is kind of like from that interesting era where they would sort of merge action and slashers. Like they did this also with Cobra and, like a bunch of other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But this one is kind of like the Terminator with Chuck Norris, like this like unstoppable killer, and I'm excited to revisit this one. This is the what is this line? I can't even think of this line now. Oh, it's Mill Creek. It's Mill Creek who, they put out cheap stuff, and these DVD or these Blu-rays are very cheap, but they have kind of cool packaging. It's kind of a gimmicky, but. All right, another one from that Mill Creek line is No Mercy. This is a movie that I had always seen the cover, like the VHS cover of this, but I never watched it until recently. And it's actually pretty good. I liked it. Came out in 1986. It's cool. It's got peak Richard Gere, peak Kim Basinger. It like starts in Chicago. I love flicks that are set in Chicago, and then it moves to the swamps of New Orleans, and it's cool. Richard Gere is just like a total asshole, and it's just such a macho flick. But I can't say I didn't enjoy watching it. So that was fun, and then. Another Richard Gere flick that I had never seen and watched for the first time is Internal Affairs. This one came out in 1990. This one, I watched this actually on Amazon Prime, and I think it's still on there. You can watch for free if you have that. But I liked it. I liked it so much that I picked up the Blu-ray because I think this might be going out of print soon. But this is a great... just kind of like sordid psychological like thriller, and it's great, and a reviewer referred to this as glass block noir. Like, remember like back like the glass cubes that would be in like houses and buildings. Just really I thought that was a good descriptor. Fun movie, great performance. Again, Richard Gere playing such a sleazebag in this, but But yeah, I had a great time watching that one. All right, another classic. Classic action comedy. Here's a buddy cop movie, which I love. The buddy cop movies, Tango and Cash, which I somehow had never seen. I always overlooked it. This came out in 1989, and this is just another fun, Friday night pizza movie. Love the chemistry between Kurt Russell and Stallone. They were both really funny in it and likable. And just a cool movie from that kind of heyday of action flicks. Okay, and then kind of like a more recent sort of like exploitation action movie here is VFW. This one came out in 2019. It was directed by Joe Begas, and that's a guy who has been trying to make John Carpenter films his entire career. He's gotten the closest with this one, or at least this is his best attempt at doing a Carpenter style movie. And it's got a great cast, and yeah, I thought it was pretty well done. Definitely by far his best movie that he has made yet. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Going back to Scream Factory, we got some more Scream Factory horror flicks. Pet Sematary 2. I know I've talked about this before on the podcast. This is one of the early horror movies that I saw in the theater. When this was coming out, I really wanted to see it. And, I asked my dad, and he told me, you got to read the book first, because he knew it was based on the Pet Sematary, novel by Stephen King. So I raced through it so I could see this. And I did see it and end up seeing it in the theater. And I loved it, and I still like it, even though when you watch it as an adult, you can see it's not a perfect flick, but for what they were going for, I thought it was really entertaining. Another kind of classic from the 80s. Here we have April Fool's Day, the Scream Factory Collector's Edition. This movie came out in 1986. There is the classic original poster for it, and this is a great movie, People sometimes argue whether it's actually a slasher or not. It doesn't really matter. If you're just along for the ride, it's a fun flick. And this is one of the rare Scream Factory newly commissioned, cover art that I actually kind of like that a lot. I think that's a kind of a cool cover for the slipcover. And then one more Scream Factory here. I picked up Silver Bullet. The collector's edition, because I think I saw this on sale, it was cheap. This has never been one of my favorite movies. If you're a fan of 80s coming of age stuff, then this is definitely one to check out. This movie came out in 1985. It's got a great performance by Gary Busey. It's got an early Corey Haim performance there. Cool movie, cool addition here. All right, just two more. Next up is a British film called The Cottage, which I saw a number of years ago and really enjoyed. And so I thought, why not grab the DVD of it? This one came out in 2008. It's kind of like a black. It's kind of like a very dark comedy mixed with horror, and it does get pretty horrific. And it's a cool movie if you're into kind of dark humor and grisly horror, then definitely check it out. And then finally, the last one I picked up on eBay, I believe, is the DVD of The Basement which was the part of the Camp Retro 80s collection. And basically, they had unearthed a lost 1989 anthology called The Basement, and they put it on DVD, and they included some other classic shot-on-video films, such as Captives, Video Violence 1 and 2, and Cannibal Campout. And I've shown shot-on-video DVDs on here before. I enjoy it because I really love watching these things with commentary and just hearing of these guys just talking about the experience of making these flicks in their backyards and stuff. And just seeing sort of like the passion and the dedication that these guys have. So the basement, the anthology was directed by oh man, what's his name? Tim O'Raw, who had done a flick called Ghoul School from I think 1990, which I get a kick out of. So I thought I'd check this out. Now, when this originally came out from Camp Motion Pictures, it came in like a VHS big box, and I think some versions even came with a VHS tape. That edition is out of print, and I don't really care anyway. I don't have the space for a VHS big box, so I just got the single DVD. It works for me. So that's it. Those are the movies that I have picked up since the spring. Actually, those are not even all the movies. I also went through this like weird kick and like got a bunch of anime as well. Not just any anime, like super gory, violent, like almost beyond the pale type anime. I didn't include it here because it would have just made this video way too long, and I don't know if you guys would even want to see that. If you would want to see a video of just me showing my ridiculous like bloody anime haul, let me know in the comments. But otherwise that's gonna do it. Hope you guys are all doing well. Hope you're hanging in there in these crazy times. I apologize for things being a little quiet around here. I know I haven't made a lot of videos over the summer. I don't know. I have been having a lot on my mind. I'm going back to work next week, and who knows what that's going to be like. So hopefully, I try to be optimistic and positive, and hope for the best. For me and everyone. So hopefully, you guys are doing well, and hope to see you soon in the next video. Till then, peace out.